Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I'll be going through the Adelaide versus Sydney game and how the Swans got through on an umpire error and then that turned out to get them into finals. I understand the Adelaide annoyance, the frustration, because it took away their chance to get a finals place. But it is quite annoying to see I guess some fans saying that Swans don't deserve finals because they didn't deserve to win, even though the Swans were bottom four, like 6 rounds ago, and they've won against pretty good sides. I think also a lot of people are saying that they haven't actually beaten a good side. I mean, they beat Western Bulldogs when Western Bulldogs were fifth. They beat let me just quickly bring up the Swans schedule. They beat West Bulldogs. They beat Freo when Freo weren't the fourth worst side in the AFL. They were actually, I think, 10th or 9th at the time. They beat Essendon in a close game just before Essendon have fallen apart basically since. GWS had won 6 games straight. So, and they were Swans were seen as heavy underdogs in that game, and GWS I think at the time were 5th or 6th, maybe even a little bit lower, maybe 8th, but they were in the top 8. Beat Gold Coast as well, and they were Gold Coast weren't terribly good, and they were done obviously, but still beat them. And then Adelaide, they got through. So I guess it just shows that the Swans can go on a run, and I'm pretty sure I did call it in one of their recaps. I want to say it was after the Eagles or after Brisbane game, that, or maybe even around that St Kilda game, that they can go on a run. They needed to win 9 out of 10 for me to be confident, and they won something like 7 out of 9 or something. So yes, they did get lucky with a lot of results going their way, but that's going to happen across a 10-week span. So as long as you know that you're still a mathematical chance, with all results going against you, then some results are going to fall your way. And one of the results was the Western Bulldogs versus West Coast game, which fell our way, as well as a lot of teams having to play each other, which sort of minimises the gap that that the Swans always had to the top 8. But before we get into the video, after all that rant, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's actually get into the recap. So as you can see here, Laird 118 was huge. I think he copped a little bit of a tag by Rowbottom, but it wasn't the heaviest tag. I think it was more so just limit Laird around the, I guess, contest. And this is a sneaky look at my team. I'm just getting Laird's numbers. 3 marks, 8 tackles, 19 and 12, so he had 31 touches. A little bit, sort of just a normal game for him, but it wasn't that, it wasn't one where he took away from, I think, the Swans. I think he sort of got held in check a little bit. It wasn't a ridiculous game, but it wasn't a hard tag like Dawson faced for 3 quarters or whatever that really shut him down. So I'm just going to bring up the stats on my phone whilst going through. Saligo actually surprised me, to be fair. He did really well, 23, 23, 37, 19. So he was ultra consistent. As I bring up I want to see the contested and the uncontested possessions, because that's going to give us the best. Contested possessions, Goulden 16, Laird 15, so Laird still had a lot of contested possessions. Isaac Heaney 13 and Rankin 14, and talking about Saligo, he's down here as having 12. So a lot of weird guys having a lot of contested possessions. Not necessarily the midfielders was a weird one to have. But yeah, just it was an all-round a weird game in general. But I mean, yeah, to see Saligo up here shows some potential for him. But I mean, he's a winger. It's going to take him a couple years, I think, still more to be that really the good wingers fancy-wise for like Akers, etc. There's a couple wingers out there that are really good fancy-wise. And I think Saligo could do one, as I think he could be a 20% midfield time. I don't know the exact CBA percentage he had, but I'm sure it wasn't up there in the highest. You got Matt Crouch here, 101. That was pretty good effort from him. I thought him coming back into the side, I didn't know how it was going to play out, and it looks to have actually played out in Adelaide's favour, as it looks to be that he might get a contract at Adelaide, which will slightly diminish his value in terms of fantasy, but also I guess it really shows that he can still play, and then for them to keep him down in the twos for quite a while was a little bit annoying. And Saligo only had, just looking at here, 4% CBA, so he really didn't do any CBA wise. And it was the chunk of the load went to O'Brien, Laird, and Dawson at 92% each, and Crouch 64%. So Dawson 96, he had a hard tag from Mills, and that's why you see Mills so low. They were just both weren't really able to. If we look at Dawson's stats here, you'll see a lot of tackles and not as many marks. He got tagged into the absolute ground, so he couldn't really take those cheeky little 15-meter marks. Neither could Mills, and that's why you saw probably 20 down on each of them, just in that sense. And Mills, he didn't get those marks around the back as well, because Mills was down. I think if we look at Mills's play here, if I bring up Mills, here we go. He had a 51, 3 marks, 4 tackles, and 11 disposals, whereas the good games for him, he has 25-ish disposals, so he's down 14 touches, which is 28 points, as well as you can see with the marks, his good games are around that. If we look back here, 9 marks, 6 marks, 6, so around 3 or 4 marks down as well, which is another 10 points, so you have 40 points there at least, just from this tagging role. At least, and that's not even factoring in that he gets kicks instead of just all handballs. So we could be looking at, I think it's not too bad. I think he's probably, this was the type of game where I think he can still average 100, and priced at 80, it's going to be interesting how we do and how rookies are priced up at, etc. like that. But I think Mills could be an option, but it will depend on the Swans, how they match up, because I think that it might be a year, honestly, where we go with no Swans. Unless you want to go with Gordon in the midfield, but I'd rather probably want, to be honest. But yeah, it doesn't really look too good for Sydney. Sydney plays currently on the list, because I do think you will see Caden Cleary in most people's backlines, as I think he will get that that sort of sweeper role for the Swans, he could easily average 60 or so for the Swans next year. And then obviously we go here. No one else here really to talk about from the Adelaide side. No one. Rich Shelley did all right. He got a goal in the third quarter that really shouldn't have counted, because Goulden got a handball, but Stebic missed that. 500 and something games of experience to miss a handball in easy in clear space, which gifted Adelaide a goal. You could say umpire error as well, so it worked both ways. You're going to have shocking decisions. It's just about the luck of the green, and I guess recency bias plays a large role in how things are viewed. So, I mean, Swans got away with it with the Keys decision. Adelaide got away with one with the Goulden decision. I don't think you will call it even, because obviously the one is subjective and one is objective, but to the letter of the law, I guess you could say that Goulden's one was an umpire error. So, I mean, I'm just happy to make for the Swans to be in, and don't really care what other fans say. Schoenberg, no one else here really matters. Keys at bloody 37, he's at a shocker. And, I mean, he will be in the Adelaide side next year, but his role has just turned to nothingness. And, yeah, I don't think he will be of any value next year at all. Gordon, 107, was huge. Yeah, just all around the ground. I don't think they ran a tag with him, actually. And it looks like he played that better wing role for Gordon. As the wing role, for some reason, for Sydney, especially his wing, seems to do really well. Heaney, 92, he had a really good game, and someone that I'm looking to next year, because the forward line looks so bleak, that Heaney could average 85, 90 for a year, and just might have to have him, because there is no other forwards that have that midfield status other than Track and potentially Warner, if he gets that forward status and then jumps back into the midfield right after round 6. But doesn't look like that's going to be a case either, as I believe his, if we look at the CBAs for him, I think they were down very, very heavily. I just want to bring it up on my phone here. So yeah, he scored 87 in the end off of 28% CBAs. So his CBAs have never been above 50 since he came back. Above 55 since he came back. The highest was 53. and mostly in the 30s and 40s, and before that. So he's got a season average of 54% CBAs. I think another round and another, say he gets another 30%, that could knock him down to 53, 52%, and we could be looking that he's on the cusp. He could be on the cusp, but he could have also started a couple of CBAs on the wing, which might just discredit him from that. But if we're looking here, trying to see his time on ground percentage, it's not looking the greatest, to be honest. But we'll just have to wait and see, I guess, with his CBAs and stuff. But I'm sure someone has a counter. I would suggest he's probably 3 or 4% off still, but he's close, and that could work in our favour next year if he gets it. Because he's going to get it if he continues with this role. He will get it in round 6 next year. But I don't think he will get it to start the season, which is going to suck. Hickey 80, Lloyd 78, Rowbottom 74, McLean, Florence, Stevens 69. A good performance from him. Slowed down a lot in the second half, but he will hopefully. It does suck, but I'm hoping he does do really well these last couple rounds. Increases his trade value, because I wouldn't mind him going to North Melbourne for potentially, instead of a third, a second. As that will really help with potentially getting. I think Grundy, as I said in the YouTube comment section, and on another post, I think Grundy's around 20% to go to the Swans, but another second, a good second, will obviously help with that. And then other than that, Campbell did all right. He's probably going to be the winger next year. Blakey, Hayward, McDonald, Parker, Wicks, Mills had the tag roll on Dawson, as we said. Rampy, McCann got 2 weeks for that bump, which should be 1 week, to be honest. Francis did really well in the first half and then did nothing since then. Papley, slight little niggle for him, so don't know how that's going to play out and how that will change the role of potentially Warner and Heaney. That could potentially change their role with midfield time, etc. Fox, Cunningham, and then Clark came on as a sub, and everyone in the Swans is just kind of like, why is Clark coming on as a sub? It doesn't really make too much sense with him coming on as a sub, but I mean, hopefully this is his last year as a Swan, and then we can move on from that. Experiment with a hard tagger that doesn't really do much else, I guess you could say. But yeah, that is pretty much the video there, and I guess if I do that, it's not wanting to work. That is the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys. Goodbye.